Tabe has just released Arc 7 Chapter 56B, and this video will be a summary of the chapter. I highly recommend you check out my Arc 7 Chapter 55B video. Anyways, let's begin. A warning bell rang in Flop's head when he saw the girl. Not the alarm bells that you can currently hear throughout the city of Guaral, but his own survival instincts. Flop is not a fighter like Medium. The little girl removes her leg from the crater that had formed when she landed. She looks only a few years older than Utakata or Schult, yet had the aura of someone like Mizelda or Medium. She's almost as threatening as the 9 Divine General that took Mizelda's leg. Flop whispers to Heinkel to see if he can create an opening so he can escape with Utakata and Schult. However, Heinkel doesn't respond. Flop calls out to him and Heinkel is sweating and going pale. The girl asks if Heinkel is frightened. The girl notes Heinkel's shaking legs. However, Flop intervenes and shouts out that he doesn't know who the girl is and wants to talk to her. As he does this, he spreads out his arms and he starts smiling. Flop introduces himself and states that he's stuck in this situation and wants to know what's going on. The girl states that it seems like he's collateral damage, stating that everyone in the city will be killed, according to what the old man said to do. Flop, hearing this, said that that wasn't the case, and Flop is sure the old man changed his mind about the city's annihilation, stating that the girl should go check with those who are with her. The girl states that she only has dragons with her, and Flop is showing no real respect, and showing that he has also no fear. However, Flop just states that he wants to get to know her, and Schult jumps in, introducing himself as Schult. Hearing this, the girl introduces herself as Madeleine, one of the 9 Divine Generals. Flop could see why Heinkel was acting that way. However, the situation changed, and Flop called out to Utakata. It seemed that during this exchange, Utakata had pulled out her bow and arrow after hearing Madeleine's title. Utakata states if they beat Madeleine, then they never need to fight again, and the dragons would disperse. Madeleine, hearing this, doesn't react, but states that Flop, Schult, and Utakata are warriors, and that Schult is actually surprised to be called a warrior. Despite this though, Madeleine states that Heinkel is not a warrior. Heinkel slayed some dragons and he's a coward. Madeleine walks towards Heinkel and tells him to draw his sword, and that he will pay for the blood he has spilled. Utakata launches her arrow at Madeleine, but Madeleine catches it with 2 fingers. Heinkel gets called by Flop, but Heinkel brushes them off. He then raises his sword and attacks Madeleine, but she dodges and smashes him into a wall, again repeating that he isn't a warrior. Heinkel's body recoils from the wall and Madeleine punches him and kicks him again, and then swings his body and throws him to the middle of the alleyway. Heinkel doesn't move after this. If Flop was hit by that, he would be dead. Likewise, even Medium would die from that flurry of attacks. With that, Madeleine pulls out her weapon, a scissor sword. It's a weapon where you can throw it and it can come back to you. Flop remembered reading about it in some nomadic texts. Madeleine points her weapon at Heinkel's body, however Flop told her to stop. After all, if you attacked its city, it's only natural to want to fight back. Madeleine states that the dragons are the greatest creatures, and if you harm them, you deserve to be exterminated. Madeleine is also angry that the person who killed her friends was Heinkel, someone who was weak, someone who dropped his sword and couldn't fight. As Madeleine went to strike Heinkel, Flop and Utakata were about to move, but Madeleine kicked pebbles at them. Schult, who wasn't attacked, ran forward and put himself before Heinkel and tried to body block Madeleine. Madeleine then swung down her sword and the scene changes. A voice asks Rem if she's okay. It turns out to be Kuna and Holly. Rem has been watching since the attack and has been helping people. Some dragons drop rocks. Other dragons will swoop down, grab people, then drop them from great heights. It turns out Priscilla secured this place in advance and told Dicker Ottoman to send the wounded here, and Rem was helping with the healing. We see that Holly and Kuna are sticking with Rem, stating that if people die, the morale will go down, so they're sticking with Rem currently. There's a large crash and a flying dragon lands in the yard, slain by Priscilla, who's holding the Yang sword. We see Priscilla has been slaying dragons that come close to the house and repels any attacks. She is asked about her sword, which has lost its glimmer, which is due to the fact that the sun isn't shining. Yet despite that, she kills another dragon. Priscilla throws the body to the side and states that Rem is priority since she's a healer. Priscilla states that their enemy is a 9 divine general and wonders how Abel can be on such loose ground. Rem, hearing this, also wonders. She thinks of Subaru and Abel. She doesn't think Abel's attitude is praiseworthy. Either way, Rem knows that Abel is a tricky opponent for her since she doesn't have her memories. We see the city hall is under attack, but Priscilla states that Dicker Ottoman is competent. On the subject of those who cannot fight, Schult's name comes up. Schult has no strength, and Rem urges Priscilla to go to him, but Priscilla states that Schult won't die easily. Everyone is confused, and Priscilla shuts the door by saying that Schult won Priscilla's favour. The scene changes. We see Flop is in pain after being hit by the pebble. Flop couldn't believe what he saw. Madeleine definitely swung down in an attack that would have killed Schult and Heinkel, however only a dull sound rang out. Madeleine is confused and continues to swing at Schult, but nothing's happening. Madeleine states that she's definitely trying to kill them, and Flop says that maybe her hand is relaxing at the moment of impact because she doesn't want to kill them. This irritates Madeleine and she says she does want to kill them. She kicks a large rock at Flop, which causes him to struggle breathing. Madeleine grabs Schult by the hair and asks him what he's hiding. Schult, who's screaming in pain, has had a change. His eyes were on fire. Both of his eyes had a deep flame burning in them. Schult didn't seem to realize this and was confused to all of the reactions from those around him. Schult looks at Madeleine's weapon and sees his reflection and is stunned by the flame, but states that he isn't burning, nor that the flames are hot. Madeleine is enraged, stating that Schult isn't one of the foxes. Editor's note, of course, Madeleine is most likely referring to Yorna's soul marriage technique with the inhabitants of Chaos Flame. So it seems like Schult has a similar power active at the moment. With that, Madeleine jumps into the air with such a large force and comes crashing back down on Schult. When Madeleine previously struck Schult, Schult said it hurt, so he wasn't completely invincible. Flop, seeing this, says Medium will get mad at him if he does nothing, so he jumped in front of Madeleine, sacrificing himself so that Schult could survive the attack, hoping his body would at least dull the attack from Madeleine. However, a sword blocked the attack, launched at Madeleine. It was Priscilla. We see that Priscilla blocked the attack and saved the group from death. Flop wonders if they should go to the city hall, but Priscilla says that's what the Divine General wants. Flop asks her where she should take Utakata and Schult, and Priscilla says the villa and states to leave Heinkel on the floor, but Flop says he will be a good asset. With Schult's plea, Priscilla states to take the side roads, and Schult says he knows the way. With that, Schult would lead the way, Utakata will keep an eye out using her hunting instincts, and Flop will carry Heinkel. As they run, Flop thanks Priscilla. Schult grabs Heinkel's sword and they escape. With a sound, the hair ornament Priscilla was wearing shatters, and the person states that Priscilla can't die either. Priscilla wants to know where Madeleine got such an ancient object from, and Madeleine states that she's underestimating the dragons and cannot get away for free. Madeleine comments on Priscilla's chest, and we see that Priscilla's clothes are torn, but none of the others saw her naked. Regardless, Priscilla doesn't mind. Madeleine mutters the words of a soul marriage technique, and Madeleine asks if Priscilla is related to the fox. Priscilla continues to annoy Madeleine, and Priscilla notes that the sky has darkened as she pulls out her Yang sword, which doesn't seem to be working properly. As the battle rages and buildings are being toppled, the flying wing blade that Madeleine holds is even heavier than the 10 swords of power. Madeleine's attacks are devastating, large areas of the city, but Priscilla is agile and dodges the attacks. Since Madeleine has no martial arts experience, her attacks lack refine. Priscilla, thinking this, mutters that she didn't study martial arts either. However, the reason why she can use a yang sword like a master is because she was able to watch swordsmen train, and as a result she learned how to move properly. However, currently it's nighttime, so the yang sword needs to gather its strength. Priscilla ducks underneath Madeleine's attack as she thinks about her next big move. We see that Madeleine's dragon blood is hot, so there's steam rising around Madeleine's frame as she fights. Priscilla notes that Madeleine's emotions are being transferred to the flying dragons, and that's the reason why the flying dragons are also being erratic in their attacks on the city. However, something was wrong, and Priscilla spots a snowflake. It's strange since Valakia's climate doesn't really have snow in it. With that, a voice rings out saying that she's angry. She has the voice of a silver bell. The silver-haired girl clacks her boots. A witch with snow following her. She's looking for her missing knight, and she has arrived at the city of Guaral. The chapter ends there. So that chapter was interesting. Heinkel gets stomped. Schult has some sort of weird soul marriage technique. I don't think we have the full details on what's going on there, so we'll most likely get some backstory on what's going on. Also, we have Emilia arriving, so that means Rem and Ram are going to meet soon, because we need to assume that Emilia is with Ram, and they're in the city of Guaral. So let's see what happens. I'm hyped. Let's see what's going on, and thank you for watching. Let me know what you think.